So a lot of people kind of avoid seeds, and that is really unfortunate. Maybe the best reason to grow things from seed is just the incredible, miraculous process of getting to see seeds sprout, then grow into food. And so if you're only growing from starts, you're not really seeing the whole cycle, and it's really exciting and mysterious and sort of unbelievable. And there's definitely some skill and art in making these things germinate and getting them to grow. And so we're going to talk about kind of all the different steps in doing our best to assure germination and successfully growing things from seed. Growing things from seed is called direct sowing, which would be distinguished from, starting seeds in a greenhouse. Since we know this is where we're going to be planting the peas, our first step is going to be doing some work to the soil, a little bit of extra work to make sure that we've prepared what would be called a fine seed bed. And that would be a soil that is very loose and crumbly and light, and that doesn't have, these kind of chunks. Those are going to potentially cause problems for germination. So you can kind of just come through, break up some of those surface clods, make sure where these seeds land is really nice and even. The next step is going to be establishing a little trench or furrow where we're going to actually plant those seeds. The depth of that trench is going to vary depending on the size of the seed. So today we're planting some sugar snap peas, and a good sort of rule of thumb for depth would be 3 to 4 times the width of a seed. So in the case of these, sugar snap peas, we're going to plant them maybe 3/4 of an inch to an inch deep. And then the next question is going to be the spacing of the seed. And for these sugar snap peas, ideal spacing is about 2 inches. Now if we plant a seed every 2 inches, inevitably we're going to have some seeds that don't germinate. Some will be too deep, some will be too shallow, despite our efforts. There are other seeds in here that are just not viable seeds. So we would end up with these little gaps. In many cases, when we're planting vegetables from seed, we're going to intentionally sow more than we want, and then we're going to come back afterwards and do what's called thinning, which is removing some of the seeds that have germinated and leaving the ideal spacing that we're going for. So since the ideal spacing is maybe every 2 inches, we're going to plant these seeds about 1 seed per inch. It's always a good plan to label where you've planted, especially before you cover it up and forget where you planted. And now we're just going to do the work of covering them up and putting them in their little homes, and just lightly tamp the soil down to really enclose that seed so that when we water, it has a really nice presence of moisture to initiate that germination. All of our hard work can be undone if we're not careful with watering, because we have those seeds, right where they need to be. If we're to come through with a hard, spray setting on some sort of hose attachment, we may be sending all of our seeds in every direction. With seeds, they're just sort of waiting for water to activate that germination. Even if rain is in the forecast, I would still add a little bit of water just to start that process. It also is going to help all that soil really close in around the seed and help it stay right where it needs to be until it sprouts. Every time I do this process, I can't help but have a little bit of disbelief that these seeds are actually going to sprout.